Well, hello there, amazing business owners. Did you like my lovely voice? Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Business Straight Up, the podcast for creatives, entrepreneurs, photographers, and everyone in between who actually wants to make a living doing what they love, because it's time for the cliche of the starving artist to go. Am I right? Yes. I am so excited to bring you today's episode. We are going to talk with my amazing guest, Christina Scalera. She is an attorney and a founder behind The Contract Shop, and she now has an online course that teaches people how to take their service-based businesses and start selling some digital products online. This is so important when it comes to diversifying our revenue, right? Because sometimes service-based businesses get shut down, as we have all seen during the global pandemic, and that affected so many of us. So we are going to talk about setting up different revenue streams, what that looks like, what are some secrets behind it, what are some marketing tips. Christina is such an expert on this, and I can't wait for you to hear what she has to share. Let's dive right in. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Welcome back, gorgeous business owners, photographers, creatives, entrepreneurs, anyone who wants to actually make a living doing what they love. I am so excited for today's guest and the information that we have available today, because it is something that I have been asked several times by my students and something that I've been considering myself for the past couple of years. As a service-based business owner, how the heck do you diversify your income? The struggle is real, right? Please welcome today's guest, Christina Scalera.
Hi, Brooke. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Christina is the attorney and founder behind The Contract Shop, a contract template store for creative entrepreneurs, wedding professionals, and coaches. She's now teaching others how they too can create an online shop, create daily income, and get out of the client getting hustle, right? We all need to book more clients with her course, Products on Tap. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely my pleasure. And I can't wait to dive into this topic because it's something I love nerding out about.
It's hard, especially when you're a service-based business. You're like, what the heck do I do with that when things are shut down, like COVID?
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about your background, but can you share with our listeners more about you, your journey? What has your business looked like, and how has it brought you to where you're at now?
Sure. So I started my online store 5 years ago on November 5th of 2015, at the time that we're recording this, just
Happy
about 5 years ago today. I know. Yeah. So I didn't have very high expectations for it. I had a lot of the same excuses I see my students having, which is, oh, there's someone else that's already doing this.
Yeah.
There's someone else who's already further along than I am on this. There's already somebody that's a bigger industry name, blah, blah, blah. It's too hard, right? Like all of the excuses that you guys could possibly have to start an online store, I had them. And unfortunately, at that time, there was no template for this. Like there was nobody to look at and say like, oh, like they're selling digital products online. I can do that too. Because at the time, online courses they were still so rare that I remember having a bookmark tab, and like there were 7 courses in there. Like every time I come across one, I would just bookmark it because I'd be so excited about what they were selling. I mean, digital shops, that was still years away.
Yes.
I got started because I was working as an attorney. I had a law firm, my own practice where I focus on trademark law. So I would help people get trademarks for their business, which obviously every business has some sort of phrase or logo or name, title, things like that they want to stand out with. And that's considered a trademark. So I would help them do that with my service-based business, my law firm. And that was very lucrative. It was a great career. But I think like a lot of service providers, it just wore on me.
Yeah.
The client was my boss. There was always something that was like an emergency at some point. I had to drop everything and answer because it felt really important. And the client was important to me and it felt important to them. So I had to make it important to me. And it was this endless cycle of doing so much marketing. Yes. And we all know how much work that is. And then
gosh, yes.
Then the reward for all that marketing is what? More work.
Yes.
Like now you have to do the work that you promised the person you were going to do. So it just was like this endless cycle of work. And I am so grateful to a friend. She's a photographer. She's an equine photographer. I think her Instagram handle is Kirsty Marie. And she basically asked me one day if she could borrow some of the templates that I've been using for my clients. She's very like hands-on and stuff. And so she wanted to customize some of these client contracts and things like that for her own business. And I said, yeah, sure. Like every lawyer has a bank of contracts that they kind of come up with over time or inherit if they enter some kind of other firm. And so I had this bank of templates that I would pull from every time I worked with a client. And then I would customize that for each client. So I just gave her some of my templates and kind of pointed out some things about them. And she's like, you could really sell this.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know, LegalZoom, like all these things already exist. Like, how could this be valuable? Like, there's already these big things. Like, how am I going to compete with that? So we're still here 5 years later. I'm happy to say we're competing quite well with them. And basically what happened is through a lot of different, it's not really luck because I put myself in the situation to invite these opportunities in, but through a lot of these different opportunities and maybe a little handful of luck, I was able to get the shop up and running and off the ground with these like really niche client contracts. And we've since expanded from there. But basically that was how we got started with our shop. And then in 2017, we made the big switch to Shopify, which is so critical for a lot of shop owners once they reach a certain point. And since then, we've just been really going hard and growing every year, every month. This year, we're up 39% in sales, possibly because of coronavirus.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly because of other things. But I think a lot of it has to do with just the dedication to choosing that as a business model and following it. And then also we have these semi-annual sales once in July and once in Black Friday. And they're just crazy. They're awesome. They're so fun for everybody. So that's the story of the shop.
Yes. Well, and I love, and some of the feedback that I get from some of my students when it comes to maybe thinking of things outside of what they normally do is that, no, I really love what I do. And it doesn't mean that you have to stop what you're doing, right? It's just another income stream. It's just another revenue stream. And when you maybe are taking care of the income streams on that side, you don't have to hustle as hard on the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a great point, Brooke, because a lot of people are like, well, how do I start a shop with all this client work already on my plate? And I just had to treat it like a client. And when I did that, I just knew that even though this was the worst client ever, because it wasn't paying me, it was just taking up a bunch of time.
It's true.
That eventually that client would start to pay me. And my bet paid off. That was one helpful thing that I did was I just treated it like a client, because when you're working in a service-based business, you don't have time for more stuff. And I think that's the trap that a lot of people fall into.
Well, and it's just not scalable. And so many people say, well, what I do, I want every woman to have it. Like as a boudoir photographer, I would love every woman to have a shoot. But the reality is there's only one of me. There's only so many hours in a day. So I can't necessarily do that. And this would give me the opportunity to maybe work with the women who would be impacted more by what I do because I have this other income and revenue stream, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think that it's something that so many of us don't consider, right? Because we're creatives and we go into business because we love what we do. And then we don't think about, what if a global pandemic shuts us down and we can't work with clients? Like no one saw that coming.
Right.
No one did.
Yeah. This is the exception beyond all exceptions. I've definitely been hammering home this message for a couple of years now is like, you need to diversify with digital products. And by digital products, I don't mean courses. I'm actually not a huge fan of courses unless you're like super advanced in your career. And we can talk about why that is. I think there's too many beginners that are entering the course world, which is like an unpopular opinion, but there's actually a reason for it. I promise it's not good for anybody involved, but products are something I'm talking about digital download products. Those are something that you can get into right away at the start of your career and really help yourself to grow, get out in front of your audience, create that passive income stream. And then on top of all that, you also are not selling products that put you out of business by teaching all your competition what you do, because you're only selling off little tiny bits of what your process or your work is.
Yes. Well, and for me, I have been writing emails for people in Facebook groups for, 10 years now, just because I'm very good at writing the emails.
Right.
When someone has a difficult situation, they would ask, hey, Brooke, can you help me with this email? And I would write them. And someone was finally like, why don't you sell these? I was like,
Right? So, these helpful friends in our life. It's amazing.
Right. So you have shared that you have actually seen your ADHD become an asset in your business, kind of a little pivot here. We'll
Sure.
definitely come back to the other. And I know that I have actually struggled with the same thing. I wouldn't give it up for the world though, because it helps me every day in my business, even though it can sometimes be a challenge. What would you share with another creative business that has a hard time focusing, whether they've been formally diagnosed or not?
Yeah, I think focus can be a hard thing no matter what. But when you are like neurotypically challenged with ADHD or something else,
Mhm.
it's even worse. And I'm honestly so glad that I didn't get diagnosed until
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 years into my entrepreneurial journey,
Yes.
because I would have used it as an excuse to quit early on. So I think the key to staying focused is, I know this is so basic, but most people don't actually do it. The key to staying focused, whether you have it or not, is to decide what you want.
Mhm.
And that's it, like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And this works for us, like, because I have a team now. It used to just be myself. And then over the years, I've grown a team
Mhm.
of employees and contractors. What works for us is like, personally, I do this every single day. I refocus by journaling. One of my trademark clients, Laura Casey, has power sheets. So I love using power sheets to keep myself focused. But whatever method works for you, I highly recommend that you find something and then personally focus yourself on what it is that you want, even if it's crazy. I remember saying that I wanted to buy a house, and just getting enough money for a down payment just seemed
Mhm.
crazy. And you'll just be amazed at like how your life shifts and changes to make some of these huge goals a reality. So that's what I would say is focus first personally. And then once you know where you want to go, like if you want to buy a house, that's a pretty big investment. So you're going to have to make a different kind of money than like if you were just trying
Yes.
to make some extra cash every month with like a side
Yeah.
hustle. Both are totally valid, great goals, but one is a little different than the other. And so when you know where you're going personally, then you can focus in your business and you can
Mhm.
say, what are the revenue streams that I need to get me to this number every month that I want to make so that I'm putting aside enough money for these personal things? That keeps us really focused, and it makes it really easy for us to say, this is the revenue stream that we're focusing on this month, whether that's like a
Yes.
funnel that guides people to our shop,
Mhm.
or we take a new focus and look at our affiliate program, but we don't do them all at once. We do them one at a time. And then on
That's
top of
hard.
that, it's really hard. It's actually been much easier with the team. But even before I had the team, this is again where the personal, you've just got to like do the personal stuff first, because it gets so visceral. Like it's so inside you. Like you feel that end goal every single time you open your computer and work. And that makes it so much easier to focus on that one thing every single month. And I like to call it layering.
Mhm.
So, like when I first started my business, and you may have done the same thing, especially with ADHD, I started a blog, a podcast, an Instagram account, a Pinterest account, and I don't know, probably like 4 other things. And I was trying to do that every single day, and that
Mhm.
didn't work. Yeah. So instead, what ended up working there, and we've just like taken it and supercharged it with the team, is like focusing on that one layer every
Mhm.
single quarter, every month, like whatever that looks like for you. So I had to like learn how to blog in less than 3 hours so that I could have 2 blog posts a week. Okay, great. Figured that out. Now we can move on to
Yeah.
Instagram. Okay, great. Figured that out. Now we can layer on Pinterest. Okay, great. It's just this like layering approach that takes some time, which is where people fall off the wagon, lose their focus, try to do too much at once. But if you can really keep that personal stuff in mind,
Mhm.
then you can start to layer on all these things that are going to build your business and like a sustainable and profitable way over time.
Yes. I was just looking to the side because I was looking for, I used to have a photo on my desk.
Uh-huh.
We toured a model home. I lived with my in-laws for 7 years.
Oh my
Save
gosh.
up for our
You're an
home.
angel.
And so it was difficult.
Yeah.
It worked out, but I had a picture of my kids in this model home as they were walking through, and I kept it on my desk and I saw it every day. And a month
I
before we
love
were
that.
supposed to close on our home, they were like, oh, guess what? You need an additional $32,000
Oh,
because of self-employed and
sure.
mortgages don't go together very well. And so I made it happen. And it's amazing when I have that on my desk and I can see it constantly. I'm like, okay, this is hard, but we can do hard things. We can move towards
Yeah.
this because you
Yeah.
constantly see that in front of you.
Yeah. That's actually a great point, because I think that's where a lot of people lose confidence is things feel too hard. So they give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And first, we're all there at a certain point in our business. But second,
Yes.
like, I love what you're saying. First of all, congratulations. That's huge.
Hey.
Yeah. And second, is like, now you have that to point back to every day you're having like a rough time and you're like, oh, I'm going to launch this and no one's going to buy it, right? Because we all have that thought.
Yes.
Now you can look back and you can say, actually, no, that hasn't been the case in the past.
Yep.
You can actually look at facts. So I love it. For people out there listening, like maybe it's not $32,000 for a house. Maybe it's like getting one client. Like you've done it in the
tires
past.
Or something.
Yeah. You can do it again. Like
Yeah.
Totally. That's awesome. I love that.
You can. And when you start to build those stories in your head, then they'll start to crumble the other stories that you're like, I suck and I'm terrible. And they kind of will flip flop so that now you have a little more confidence in what you're doing.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
So several of our listeners may be familiar with your contracts from your shop, and I know that you work with creatives to provide the contracts. We all need them. If you're listing and you don't use a contract, please reconsider. It's for protection for everyone. But one thing that so many service-based business owners like photographers and wedding professionals and other artists don't really consider is bringing in income when they're not crazy busy. So when they don't have that busy season. Why is setting up another stream of income a must for any business owner?
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it best in the intro. It just, you never know what's going to happen, like as far as 2020. But even before that, I remember working with a service provider. She was a wedding planner out of the Houston area in 2017. She joined one of my masterminds. And she just said, nobody wants to hire. First of all, I don't think this is true, but this is the story that she had.
Right.
She said, nobody's going to want to have like a 45-year-old wedding planner on their wedding day, which again, I was like, I don't know if that's true, but I would have no problem hiring someone because of whatever age they are. But to her point, I think what she was trying to say is that she's already exhausted as a mom. She had kids under 2 years old and she was the breadwinner for her family. It was like a lot of responsibility and tiring. What I think she was trying to say is that if she has some other backup plan or something else to step into career-wise that she's created for herself, it gives her a lot more opportunity and room to grow in a way that doesn't tie her so heavily to this like very physical, very demanding. I mean, because you wedding planners out there know how hard it is to do your job. This like super demanding physically occupation, like even more so this terrible virus around. It just really opens up the doors of possibilities. I remember my dad, he told me one time, he's like, Christina, you have to get really good grades because you like options and that's the only way you're going to have lots of options for college. I think it's
smart. I like options too.
I think it's kind of like that, where it's like, if you have money that's coming in from alternative sources, other than just your service-based business, then you have lots of options available. And then finally, I think the last thing I would tell anybody that's thinking about diversifying their income or like thinking about ways to do it, the last thing I'd say is it doesn't have to be your forever thing. And it's also something that high level, like you look to high level entrepreneurs and see like what they're doing. I can promise you that most of the people that you follow on Instagram that are like, this is my favorite skincare and this is how I love Bali or whatever. Like they are starting side businesses of real estate investing and franchising and starting like dog grooming businesses that they don't even run. They just do the marketing and stuff for. Like they're all starting these businesses that are very diverse, whether they're local or just in a totally different industry, or maybe something more physical when they've been online. It never hurts to diversify your income in whatever way that looks like. And it doesn't have to become your main focus. Like for these influencers and stuff, like they're not going out and grooming dogs every day. They just own like a dog grooming business that you've never even heard about because that's one way they've diversified. I guess the point is everybody's doing it, even if they're not talking about it.
Yeah. Well, and that is one thing that's really important to consider too, is that it doesn't have to be a full-time job. It doesn't have to be something that you're now working 2 jobs and running 2 businesses. It can just be an hour or 2 a week, after the kids go to bed or whatever.
Absolutely.
And the time that you spend there is an investment towards something else that will provide another revenue stream.
Absolutely. You said it so succinctly and beautifully.
So what are 3 secrets that every business owner needs in order to turn their services into product?
Yeah, I would definitely start by looking at what you're good at, what your friends are asking you for. So for example, Brooke shared that she was already in Facebook groups helping with the emails. Look at those kinds of things. People really want to buy products as digital download products when they need them.
Yes.
Courses, we kind of finagle and finesse people into buying them from us. And that's why people have lots of hangups around selling them, and it's hard to sell them and all this stuff. And it's because you're trying to make a situation where the customer is problem aware so that you then make them solution aware, and the solution is your course.
Yes.
The beauty of digital products is that you don't have to do that. People either need them or they don't, and they know exactly that they do or they don't. So if someone is trying to onboard a new client, they know they need a series of emails. They don't know what needs to be in those emails. So they type it in, and then, whoop, wow, by magic, Brooke's shop comes up, and here's like the 10 emails you must send to a client right after you have your whatever sales conversation with them. So as soon as people see, I should say, if you're creating products that people really need, it's so easy to sell them. So that would be my first secret, is that you really don't have to work too hard to sell, because it's actually things that people really need.
You probably hear or read all the time on podcasts and courses, various communities, that you need to do certain things or have specific processes in place to help with your business. Whether it's lead follow-up, email templates, or workflow, all of this can be so overwhelming, right? Especially when you don't know where to start. I have spent 15 years creating processes that are repeatable for my own business. And last year, I finally launched my online shop where my email templates, workflows, and questionnaires are all available for purchase. And just for my amazing podcast listeners, I have a special code available for you for 10% off of any product on the shop. Just head over to shopwithbrooke.com. Don't forget the E on the end of my name, and use the code BSU podcast, like Business Straight Up Podcast, to get 10% off of any product, anything on the shop. Don't let overwhelm or all of the shoulds take precious hours of your time that you could spend with your family or doing what you really love. Check out the templates and pre-done systems that you can copy and paste and implement at shopwithbrooke.com to start rocking your marketing and your business today.
The second thing is, like, this doesn't have to be rocket science.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be like you read all of the marketing books and listen to all of the marketing podcasts to come out with this product. Like, it just is something that speaks to the services that you're providing. So you're obviously competent in it. And then we already discussed the need. And it just can be something as simple as a sales page template or some kind of checklist that you're using in your business that you turn into an Asana or Trello or Google Sheet or Airtable or all of the above. It doesn't have to be this like super crazy, like innovative, never seen before thing. It just has to be helpful. And then the last thing I would say is, you just need to make it really simple and easy for people to walk through the process. The biggest reason I see online shops fail is because it's too hard to make a purchase. Oftentimes people in their product description pages, which is like basically like the sales page. So think about if you're on, I don't know, I love Sephora. So if you're on Sephora's website and you're checking out the lipstick, are you going to buy it if it doesn't even tell you what brand it is? Are you going to buy it if you can't even see what colors it comes in or like what the ingredients are? No. But when it comes to our digital products, because we're so little or whatever, we just like throw up a product listing and then don't really fill out all the details like that. Well, just like Sephora, lacking all this information on the listing, people are going to look at your products on your shop and they're going to say like, oh, well, I don't know if I should really trust them. My Shopify coach, he has a great analogy where he talks about your online shop is like trying to sell out of the back of your car in like a Walmart parking lot. So he's like, until you can get them over that hurdle of like seeing that you're not just like some guy opening up a trench coat, like that you're actually a legitimate product seller, they're always going to have this objection in their mind. So make it as easy as possible for them to overcome that objection, because at the end of the day, they're rooting for you. Like, they want you to solve their problem. They want this to be the thing that they kick to the curb and move on to the next thing so they can continue growing their business. So just give them all the information, help to show them how it's going to improve their life or their business in whatever way, and make sure that you're making it really accessible and easy for them to go through a checkout process and download your product.
Absolutely. Sorry, if you see me writing, it's because I'm writing notes. So I'm totally not ignoring you. I always feel bad in video that I'm like looking down. But
no worries.
I'm totally taking notes because I love this information. And I think that there's a really common misconception as well that it has to be business to business. Meaning, as a business owner, you have to be selling to other business owners. And while that does work very well, it's not the only way that you can do something. If you're a wedding planner, think of some of these secrets that you have come up with. Maybe it's a wedding day checklist that you can sell for even $15. If you
Mhm.
have 100 people buy that, you're looking at some nice revenue coming in every month. It really does not have to be huge.
Right. Absolutely. And that's a great point. I've worked with calligraphers. I've worked with people that do patterns for different sewing niches like
Yes.
knitting. I forgive me, I don't know that much about knitting and sewing.
I don't
Yeah, I know
either.
about marketing products, but that's kind of the beauty of it is like at the end of the day, the product and the audience, it matters to you as the person who's selling, but
Yeah.
there's certain principles about selling products that just work no matter what industry it is or what audience you're selling to. But yes, this is a really good point is that even for like photographers out there, you could be selling your images. This is one thing I suggest all the time to photographers is like most photographers don't sell the copyright. If you're not, that could be a great way to make some extra money. I just paid my photographer an extra $1,000. Like that's a lot of work that she doesn't have to do for that extra
Right?
money. But most photographers don't sell the copyright. They just give their clients, they kind of rent the photos
The
to their
print rights.
clients
Yep.
in terms of a license. And so what that means for a lot of photographers is that you actually retain the rights to the photos and you can do with them as you wish with certain privacy things like that in mind. But one of the things that I always recommend for photographers is you can start a stock photo shop because
Yes.
if you take the photos that don't have people's faces, the detail shots, the flat lays,
Yes.
the scenery, the landscape, whatever it is, right? Just doesn't have it could be backs of heads. It doesn't matter. As long as we can't see who's in it and identify them, then those are great candidates for stock photos because content, Instagram, blogs, YouTube, B-roll, like all of those things are not going away.
Yes.
We just need more and more and more of it. Even selling to different corporations and things. So this could be something that you sell as a product. So there's so many different product ideas out there, whether you're B2B or B2C. I love your example for the wedding or planners. That's a great one. It's just, there's so many opportunities out there for you to help people.
Yes. And there are even websites, if you didn't want to set up your own shop, like I know Creative Market. I know a photographer that sells so much of her work on Creative Market.
Yeah.
And I think I have even bought stock photos because it may be something like a Thanksgiving table. That's not what I do. And
Right.
so I will buy a stock photo so that I can use it elsewhere because I don't want to have to set up and bake 25 pies and things to take these pictures.
Right. Yeah.
I only pay $5 for that.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you.
So what marketing strategies do you recommend as someone starts to develop their own digital shop and the things that they want to sell?
Yeah. So I mentioned the layering strategy earlier. That's definitely one that I am a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of organic content. Again, using that layered approach. So starting with whatever kind of medium you like, whether that's podcasting or blogging or video, but not all three at once, remember. And picking that and then just repurposing it onto the other platforms. So if you do a podcast, you can have it transcribed using cheap tools like Temi or Rev or Otter.ai, I think is one that I've used in the past. And that can be transcribed into a blog post. Then you can copy and paste pieces of that into Instagram and Facebook and things like that. So that's where I would start is with the organic content that you're just repurposing.
Yeah.
At least once a month. I think that's a good place to start for most people. And again, like it's not rocket science. It's just consistency that matters.
Which is hard.
It is really difficult. And that's why I'm a big proponent of figuring out what works for you, like what you actually enjoy doing, because most people enjoy either talking with other people, which a podcast is great for. They enjoy talking just out loud, but don't want the pressure of like live videos. So YouTube is great for that. Or just writing. I mean, some of us are natural writers and that can be a great place to start. Coming up with that organic content. And that's the biggest aha of 2020 is like, we worked so hard to have this like these like big, sexy like hooks and titles and YouTube video names and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, it's good, but it's not like a make or break. So don't let these like all these strategies and different ways of doing things or like the quote unquote right way to market stuff. Like don't let that get in the way. Just put something out there.
Yes.
Because I can't remember who said it, but it was a speaker at the ConvertKits conference, I think in 2017. I wasn't there, but my friend showed me the video on YouTube. It's still up if anybody wants to go find it. I don't know who it is.
All right.
I think it was Sean West, but I'm not sure. Anyway, basically someone did a study of photographers in like a photography class at a college. Like one half of the class had an assignment to create like the best photograph, and they had all semester to do that and then submit it at the end of the course. And the other half of the class, just randomly assigned, they had the assignment to create over, I think it was like over 1,000 photographs and submit like their best one out of 1,000. And like the side that only did the one and like had all semester to craft this perfect photograph, I don't think like any of theirs were top finishers in the class. And then like they all came from the people that did 1,000 plus. So anyway, the point of his talk was just create more content. And even if it's like a bunch of it sinks to the bottom, cool, call it later. By the way, we do that with our content. Like we look at what nobody's reading or watching or whatever, we'll just delete it later. But if you're not creating content on a consistent basis, even if that's like every other month or quarterly, like you're just never going to have any kind of foundation to figure out where your content should go from there. So I think that's like the biggest thing is just talk to somebody somewhere.
Yes. And done is better than perfect.
Yes.
And so many people don't understand that you can repurpose things, and they think that because they shared a Facebook post once that they can't share it again. And I think our Facebook reach now is 4 to 6%, if that. So
no idea.
Oh my gosh, if you have 10,000 followers, you're talking about a very small number of people that see it. Yeah. And that's what you're hoping. Like you're hoping to get that number. So why not share it? I share my blog posts consistently once a week. I have in Smarter Queue, it's just a queue that it shares one every week at the same time. That. Because it's relevant information. Now, some of the things like holiday deadlines and stuff, we don't share that stuff over and over again. But the stuff that's relevant and evergreen, absolutely repurpose that stuff. Make your life easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see when creatives start to do these digital shops, start to set them up, start to explore them and figure them out?
Yeah, I mean, biggest mistake is what I mentioned earlier. Their product description page doesn't sell the product. Have like a whole checklist. That's okay. We're working on it. I gave you access to products on tap. So I basically have a whole checklist in that course that goes through everything that you need. And if you're getting started, the course is helpful. But what I will say is the biggest thing is that you just make sure that you have a really high quality image, which is kind of counterintuitive for a digital product. But people need to see the product in their life, which means that you need to have some sort of mock-up. And if you're not familiar with what a mock-up is, it's like a picture of your product on a desktop. So we just Photoshop that in and drop a little shadow. So it makes it look like the piece of paper for the template is on the desk. We also like to use that photo space to make any selling propositions. So for example, if we have client testimonials, we'll put that there because people will go through pictures. They won't always read text. They'll tend to skim text. And then like any important selling features. So for example, our templates have a payment plan, and we make sure that we have information about that payment plan in a video that they can scroll through with the pictures. So just being really mindful that the picture area is some really nice real estate on your product description page. And you can make sure that people are actually getting the information they need by presenting it to them in a more graphically interesting way there.
Yes. Because we all know people don't read.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is the case. And
who
just like
actually
you said,
reads Apple's terms of service? Like scrolls on your phone, the 27 pages or what? No one does.
Yeah, I know. I just updated my phone today and I just hit agree. I know. It's terrible.
We should, but we don't.
I know. It's true.
That's amazing. I know that's one complaint I see a lot in photographers groups and stuff is that people don't read. Well, I sent them this information and I love the suggestion for both digital and service. Like get them the information they need in several different formats, in a video, in a picture, stuff like that, because they just don't read. And we are all guilty of it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's like you said with the blog content, right? Like repurposing that, nobody sees it. And then like eventually they see it in one of the releases. It's the same exact thing, but it's even more critical with these really important provisions. I have one of my students in Products on Tap, she just got her first product out. She's a designer. And so she created a template. Her name is Ida Winstead of Hugia Design. And she created a template like photographers or coaches or something could use. So it's a Show It template. They just copy and paste it into their Show It account, customize it for the client. And then every single client can have their own page. And it's super easy to customize. And it's like, welcome Christina at the top or whatever. Yeah. And then it has all the information that they need, but it's a website too. So unlike a PDF, you can dynamically update it with new policies or whatever. but you can also use it to highlight certain things that they need to be paying more attention to,
Billboard.
like the cancellation policy. Yeah, exactly. I think she even has like a little space for video on it. So if you want to use loom.com as a free tool that you can use to record yourself, hi, Brooke, it's so great to have you here as a client. You'll want to make sure to pay attention to our client or our cancellation policy and blah, blah, blah. Right. So now that's 2 spaces where you've listed the cancellation policy. So that's helpful.
Yeah.
But anyway, she just came out with that product. Really proud of her.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So again, something that her clients needed. And she is just a talented designer. So she's totally booked up. Maybe she's not now. So don't hold me to that. Maybe she's opened up some space, but just really talented, didn't have time to serve everybody. And so the next level for her was really deciding, do I want to start an agency or product? And so she launched this product and she's already getting sales, which is really, really cool.
Yes. Well, and when it comes to things that are like marketing and stuff like that, that is just kind of overwhelming that you don't have to reinvent the wheel on. There are so many things that you can just copy and paste. Why not use a template? Why make your life harder? I used to do that to myself. I used to be like, I don't really need to copy and paste. I can do this myself, when it would have been $20 for me to get a template and copy and paste it over. So that's why I have so many for myself now. But
nice. That also can happen. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Christina. For anyone listening that wants to learn more about Products on Tap or the Contract Shop or anything that you have to offer, where can they find out more and connect with you?
Sure. So all of those are their own domains.
Okay. So
productsontap.com.
Is there the?
Yeah, the contractshop.com. Productsontap.com, ChristinaScalera.com. I have a weird name, so you can just kind of loosely type my name into Google and I'll show up. But yeah, we put out lots of great content all about how to create products. We're very much focused on that. And like, I don't teach about courses. I don't teach about how to get clients, like none of that. So if you are interested in starting a shop or having what I call d-commerce products, we're in the process of trademarking that. If you do want to learn more about that, then ChristinaScalera.com is the best place.
Perfect. And we will link everything in the show notes as well. So if anyone is like, I don't remember the last name, I don't know how to spell it, anything like that, we will link everything in the show notes. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. These were just so fun questions.
Isn't it cool? I really love podcasting. I didn't think I would because it's very disconnected, which is hard for me because it feels like you're talking to yourself. But when you have a conversation, it's a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree.
All of the listeners, sorry, I think there's a little bit of a lag, but to all of the listeners, thank you so much for listening today, for putting us in your earbuds or your car stereo while you're picking up the kids. I am so honored that you pressed play and spent this time with Christina and I. If you are someone that likes to help other people and you know someone who can use this, maybe you know someone who writes these amazing emails or someone who makes these amazing checklists and they need this information, please feel free to forward this episode onto them. I know that both Christina and I would appreciate that. If you are listening and you're like, holy crap, Brooke, stuff is amazing, and Christina, you're amazing, how can I thank you for this free content? I have a way that you can thank us. If you head over to iTunes and leave a review for the podcast, I would so appreciate it. I know it's small and you probably hear podcasters say it a lot, but that is what a lot of people look at to see if we're legit. Like, are we really a podcast? It also helps me to know how I can better serve you and to get amazing guests like Christina. So if you head over to iTunes, type out your review and take a screenshot before you hit submit, email it over to hello@businessstraightup.com. I have a free gift for you, and I would so appreciate that. Please leave those reviews. It helps us so much. Thank you so much for being here, Christina. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brooke.
And thank you to all my listeners. Take what you've heard, run with it. And I have some marching orders for you. I have an action thing for you. I want to know, what is one thing that you could sell digitally, even if you don't put up a shop, even if you don't do a formal like launch or anything? What is one thing that you could sell digitally to the people that you currently serve? I would love to know. Come on over to businessstraightup.com/community and let me know. And I can't wait to hear what you do with your gift and how you impact the world. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.